it's very hard. You know, the AMM helps us incredibly, you know, to advocate for Flin Flon and all municipalities in Manitoba. But we really need to be in front of our provincial leaders, and because we seem to get, it sounds like sour grapes, but missed a little bit compared to our northern neighbors, and really the north gets missed a little bit too. But we advocate for mining companies, we advocate to the government, we advocate for any industry, anything that we can get Flin Flon economically on track.
Welcome to the Cross Border Interviews, the show where we dive into the insights of municipal political leaders from across Canada. Our mission on this show is quite simple. Shine a light on the dedicated individuals who day in and day out work around the council table to shape the communities that we call home. And joining us for today's episode is from the City of Flin Flon, Manitoba, Councillor Mike Slipp. The City of Flin Flon is a unique northern urban community with a trading area. Flin Flon can boast a wide array of amenities, such as the Flin Flon Tourist Park and Campground, Baker's Narrows Provincial Park, several fine restaurants, night spots, scenic trails, a boardwalk, a golf course, lakes, and so much more. Flin Flon is a thriving northern community and vacationers' dream destination, nestled in the middle of nature's magnificence. Located north of the 54th parallel of latitude, the city of Flin Flon was built on an old volcanic belt, which gives the region a beautiful rocky landscape like none other. Did you know that Manitoba's municipalities have a voice working tirelessly for them every day? That's the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, your trusted partner in advocacy and action. From local roads to economic development, emergency services to community planning, the AMM ensures municipal priorities are heard loud and clear. They work side by side with local leaders and municipalities, empowering them to tackle the challenges that matter most to their communities. At the AMM, they bring municipalities together, united on the key issues and stronger as a team. Together, they work to make sure your community's concerns don't just get heard, they get action. So whether it's building infrastructure, strengthening local economies, or shaping provincial and federal policy, the AMM is here to make municipal issues matter. The Association of Manitoba Municipalities, advocating for your community, making a difference for all Manitobans. Learn more about how AMM is helping your community at amm.mb.ca. Councillor, thank you so much for sitting down with me and talking about yourself and talking about the great city of Flin Flon, Manitoba. But before we talk about the city, I want to get to know the man behind the persona of councillor, if you don't mind. And I've got to ask a simple question which has led off every single one of these interviews. Where did your sense of duty to serve your community come from, Mike?
It's great to join you. Well, it's funny. We moved, my wife and I moved from Calgary about 7 years ago to Flin Flon. My son played for the Flin Flon Bombers previously. We fell in love with Flin Flon and we decided to move here. And here we are. And 7 years, or I guess now 5 years later, I became a councillor. One of the reasons I wanted to become a councillor with the city of Flin Flon is to give back to a great city that helped us out with my son, and we made so many friends. But our one and only industry in Flin Flon closed down. It was a Hudbay mining company, and there was a general consensus around town, not by everybody, by some people, that, well, that's it, it's over, Flin Flon is done. And I thought to myself, well, that could be, it might be, but what are we going to do? Just sit here and watch it happen, or do something about it? So that's really what got me involved. A couple of people suggested I run, and I'm very glad I did.
I find your story fascinating, and I was so happy when you accepted a spot on coming on the show, because I have
Sure.
spoken to many different municipal leaders, and their journey is relatively the same. They wanted to give back to their community, but you go to Flin Flon, and within 5 years of moving there, you are a counselor for the community. That is ambitious, but it's also unique because often traditional residents, and I say long-standing residents, people who were born and raised in the community, look at those people who are coming from the outside as interlopers. Oh, you're someone who doesn't really know what the true meaning of Flin Flon is. What gave you hope that people of Flin Flon would look at you and say, "Oh, I like Mike. Even though he was born and raised in Alberta, I like him and he would do wonders for Flin Flon."
Well, I am involved a lot, and we were involved from the beginning. So people got to know me fairly quickly, although there's a lot of people who don't know me still. But I'm involved with the Flin Flon Bomber hockey team as a color commentator on the radio. I am out I work for the Ford dealership in town, so I'm in the public every day. Um, and our council is very not unique, but it's very diversified. And I campaigned really on being a clear, fresh eyes to the city. And I think that resonated with the voters. And so far, so good. Every once in a while, when a address is said, I have to look up on Google Earth to see where it is. I'm still learning where different addresses are, but it's been great.
I'm assuming you're not alone in that, even in any municipality you speak to. There's probably people who are still looking up addresses.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your journey to the counselorship. Growing up, did you ever want to be a politician? Was that something in Mike's dream journal growing up, or was it ever something that you even thought about?
Well, I did think about it. As my wife always says, I enjoy politics. I enjoy watching and learning about politics. My father was a town councillor in our hometown, but really, not really until it came up and somebody suggested I run. Um, but again, very interested in politics, but it wasn't a plan.
Okay, you mentioned the key word there was your father was your counselor in your hometown. Where was your hometown, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. My hometown was beautiful Didsbury, Alberta, only 45 minutes north of you. A great little town. A good school friend of mine is now the mayor of Didsbury. So we when we meet at the FCM or somewhere like that, we have a nice chat about how we got to where we're at.
I will have to have her on the show then because I know her. I know of her because I've
Yeah,
had the pleasure of chatting with one of the former counselors who just happened to retire just recently because he moved off to
oh yeah,
Vancouver, actually.
Mayor Rhonda, she's fantastic. She's
Um,
fantastic.
she is. I want to go back to you. So you decide you're going to put your name on the ballot 2 years ago. This is all literally we're recording this in January 2025.
Right.
You ran in 2023, I believe you were first elected, correct? Or 2022.
Uh, we got 2 years left, so you do
So
the math. I think that's
okay.
22.
So when you were out
October 22.
knocking on doors and going out door to door speaking to people, or even speaking to them at your business or wherever you found people, were you surprised at what you were hearing from the general public? Or are you now 2 years into the position, not shocked at what you heard during that campaign because you're thinking, I expect that these were the issues that were going to be coming up?
Yeah, not surprised at all, Chris. The issues uh, are common knowledge, and everybody talks about them, and so no, not really. The issues that we have today are the same that we had at the beginning, but I wasn't surprised at all at what people's concerns were about Flin Flon, especially at that time with our Hud Bay mine closing. It was a concern, and it's still a little concern, but we're coming out of it nice.
But the Hud Bay closure, it was a big impact to the community. But the municipality only has one piece of being able to solve that issue, and the provincial government and the federal government have to also work with the municipality and the residents and the businesses to address that. How do you address those provincial issues, knowing that the municipality plays a very small part on those larger business, economic, and provincial scale issues.
It's very hard. We the AMM helps us incredibly, to advocate for Flin Flon and all municipalities in Manitoba. But we really need to be in front of our provincial leaders, and because we seem to get, it sounds like sour grapes, but missed a little bit compared to our northern neighbors, and really the north gets missed a little bit too. But we advocate for mining companies. We advocate to the government. We advocate for any industry, anything that we can get Flin Flon economically on track, and it's been working. We have an issue with Crown land, so we have a lot of Crown land. There's town is surrounded with Crown land, and there's Crown land within our town, and getting Crown land isn't easy. And if we work hard at advocating, if an industry wants to move to Flin Flon, we have to somehow get that Crown land, or we're not. We're losing them to other centers. So yeah, we try to get in front of the provincial government and the federal government as much as we can to advocate, because we do have a great town that's still alive and well, and we just need to find some industries which are on the horizon. By the way, we're having some good luck,
which is good, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes when we talk about Flin Flon as a whole.
right?
I want to go back to that original statement that you just said there, because I can imagine after 2 years in office as being an elected official during a campaign, the jurisdictional role that the municipality plays in the day-to-day lives of people.
Yeah.
But I would hazard a big guess that if I went to Flin Flon today and walked down the main street and asked 100 people what the biggest issue is, they're probably not going to say infrastructure or housing. They're probably going to say bigger issues, more macroeconomic issues, whether it be affordability, whether it be cost of living, whether it be education, healthcare, so on and so forth. How do you address, and I say you as just an individual councillor, address those provincial or federal jurisdictional issues from residents, knowing that you kind of have to pass the buck and say it's not our responsibility? Go talk to your MLA or your MP.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not sure if you walk down Main Street if people wouldn't mention trouble with infrastructure,
Okay,
but
I
but
apologize.
but you're absolutely right, especially healthcare. Um, Healthcare for us is very frustrating, and we know that doesn't come under municipal jurisdiction, and so we'll tell somebody will talk to us. You have to do this about the healthcare, and we'll say, well, healthcare isn't our purview, but it is our purview because we're advocating for Flin Flon. So we really take I'm using healthcare as an example. We really take a strong stand on healthcare and advocate to the health minister and whoever our health region, because we need a lot of help with our healthcare, hospital, that sort of thing, getting doctors here, things like that. So we're always trying to advocate with doctors, trying to get them here, and students and things like that. So although not our purview, like I say, it is an issue for Flin Flon, so it's an issue for council.
How often do you find yourself talking about those more provincial or federal jurisdictional issues with residents rather than municipal issues?
Well, a lot. We have a unique place here. We're on the border. In fact, some of Flin Flon is in Saskatchewan, and our hospital is in Flin Flon, but the province only counts the census for Flin Flon that use our hospital, but yet, we have Creighton, Saskatchewan. It's really apart. We're one town, really. And then there's Denair Beach. There's the indigenous communities of Sandy Bay, Pelican Narrows, and Deschambault. So we've gone from 5,000 people that use our hospital to 20 to 25,000, and we just can't get those governments to get together and talk about how we can fund and get the healthcare that's needed here. So those are it's a big issue. It's the healthcare system here, and a woman, for example, can't have a baby here. They have to go to the PA or to
And how far is LaPaw from Flin Flon, if you don't
hour
mind
and
me
a
asking?
half, hour and a
Which,
half.
which could be like literally
Yeah,
delivering a baby on the road to the paw.
they will deliver one in an emergency situation, but it has to be an emergency situation. And we had a woman lives in Denair Beach, 20 minutes away, needed dialysis and couldn't get it because of the red tape and bureaucracy in Flin Flon. So she had to go to Saskatoon for this dialysis, and it really affected her family. It's expensive. So finally they worked something out with the provincial government. But these are things that we deal with not only in healthcare but everything. We're so lucky to be a part of the regionality of Flin Flon, Denair Beach, Creighton, but it's also a bit of a strain.
Do you think you have a good balance on it though? Looking at from a council perspective and as a council perspective, do you think this council has a good grasp of what is going on and what the advocacy work that needs to be done around it? Because you're right, Flin Flon to Winnipeg, the capital, is a pretty far distance. It's a plane ride,
Yeah,
if not anything.
yeah,
Um, and now that you have, and I say this respectfully, encroached onto Saskatchewan side, because I
mhm,
know Flin Flon is now a cross-border community.
yeah,
y- Flin Flon to Regina is even a longer distance,
yeah.
and having that conversation with the Mo government or the Canoe government, do you think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the provincial governments don't want to talk to each other?
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's very frustrating. For example, we're building a new swimming pool. We're very excited about it, um, and the folks from Creighton are going to use it, and we're so happy they're going to use it. Denair Beach is going to use it, but it would be great if we could get both. Well, it would be great if we could get one government to help us out financially, but it'd be great if we could get both governments to help us out. But once one says, "Yeah, we'll help you out," the other one will say no. So it's very, very frustrating. And the healthcare hospital situation is even more important. So yeah, we had the council has a great grasp on these issues and are advocating and fighting for it all the time. Every minister we meet, it doesn't
Well,
matter if it's it's a recreation or mines and resources, we bring up this regionality issue. And as I say, there's some real positives to it, but
I,
there's
I'm,
some
ass-
huge.
I'm, yeah, I can
It,
imagine. I'm assuming we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we talk about the challenges and
yeah,
accomplishments of Flin Flon.
sure,
I want to go back to the role of a counselor for a second because you, as a counselor, get one vote around that council table, and you have to make
yeah,
the best decision for your community with the information you've gathered either through administration reports, whether it be through talking to residents. How do you make the best decision? I say you as the individual counselor, individual vote. How do you make that vote in the best interest of the entire community, knowing, and I guarantee you know this now, that not 100% of the people are going to agree with you on every single thing you vote on?
you're absolutely right. But the most important thing for a counselor is to listen to the community members, but also to listen to fellow counselors and the mayor, and accept their ideas and then mull it over in your mind and come out with what you think is the best decision. We have a very, very good council that discusses. And do we agree every time? No, but it's a very cohesive group. And if it does happen that we don't agree, we disagree agreeably. So that, and then listening to our residents and seeing what they feel, doesn't always work out that it's what they want, but we as a group or as an individual and myself try to do what's best for the community. And
Who wins
again,
in that internal battle because you have your morals, your ethics that you stand by on any vote. And I can imagine they're deeply personal to you. But
Yeah.
you're elected there to represent the people of Flin Flon.
Yeah.
And when and I say this knowing that not 100% of the people are engaged with every decision that is made, or
Yeah.
100% of the people are engaged with anything that's going on in the council.
Yeah.
The old adage is there's 5% of the population who will show up, 15% of the population who will hold the 5% accountable, and the rest, the 80 other percent, just don't care. As long as my taxes are low and the garbage is picked up, we're happy. How do you make the best decision with your morals and ethics when people are saying we don't want this, or we want this, and you feel it's not in the best interest of the community?
Well, it's a great question, because when we came into council, not saying it was the previous council's fault, but Hud Bay had closed, and we worked with a grant in lieu from Hud Bay, and that dropped considerably. We still get some money. Hud Bay is still a great corporate citizen, but our grant in lieu of taxes dropped considerably. So we have to make some hard decisions, and not all of them. A lot of them, when you make hard decisions, aren't very popular. But we had to look at what was economically feasible and weigh that. We have to look at, is it going to work in our community? What should we do now? And so, it was tough. The first 2 years really were a lot of tough decisions with personnel on where we were going to spend the money we do have. So though we had to weigh. It might be something you don't want. We cut our garbage bags, however many garbage bags you could have, down considerably, and that affects me. That affects me. But when we looked at the economics and the reality of things, it's something we had to do. Not very popular, trust me, but it's something we had to do. So we study that, and it's a give and take. And people who do come to council meetings are asked, we sure listen to them, and sometimes we change our mind if they have a good point.
Do the tough decisions get easier to make?
No, not at all. It's we know that those tough decisions are affecting all these people, including ourselves, and they don't get easier to make. But we have such a great council that we're able to discuss it and send ideas back and forth, and also listen to our constituents.
I want to turn to the city of Flin Flon as a whole now, and I want to preface this line of questioning with the following statement. This is a conversation between the councillor and myself. This is not a motion of council, not a direction of council, not a policy of council. This is his opinion and his opinion alone. If you have any negative questions or comments about the line of questions I'm about to ask, please send them to me and I will file them away in the appropriate location. With that being said, councillor, in your opinion, as of recording this almost at the end of January 2025, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges, you can say more than one or two, facing the city of Flin Flon today as of recording this interview?
I think our biggest challenges are financial, but more to the point, we have infrastructure is a real issue for all, but here in Flin Flon, it's a unique geography. We're on rock. We're on rock. So, and we're almost 100 years old, 2027, and so our infrastructure is aging, and it's a hard type of land to build sewers and water, and our roads. I always, when somebody comes to me and says, "Mike, you're on city council," I always say, I know, our roads are bad, and they are bad. And, we have to keep advocating for funding to help with our infrastructure. I would say infrastructure is one of our biggest concerns. RCMP and crime, getting RCMP here is another one. The folks with our RCMP do a bang up job, but there's just not enough of them. And so, that's an issue. Really getting the government to pay attention to us is another big issue for us.
Okay, so there's a few things I want to digest there with you, if
Sure.
you don't mind. I want to talk about the infrastructure challenges because you're not alone in that, but you are right. You are in a unique position as the city of Flin Flon, because if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, uh, the city of Flin Flon is literally almost built on a volcanic sort of watershed or rock shed
Yep.
where your ground is not as viable for living as in downtown Calgary or Didsbury or even, let's say, Brandon, Manitoba. How do you build your community knowing that it's going to cost you probably double, if not triple, the amount of money to build an average house or an infrastructure project in your community with the ground the way it is?
Yeah. I mean, it's it's a blessing to where we live with the ground the way it is because it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But it's painful to do that work, and I have to shout out to our city crews who do such a fabulous job. We get leaks all the time because of the way our ground is, and they're out there fixing them, and we're trying to get our water down and things like that. Somebody told me that there's only one other place that has to run their water and sewer like Flin Flon and somewhere in Newfoundland, which is built on a rock. And in the older part of town, in uptown, we have sewer boxes where the sewer lines run on top of the ground with wooden walkways built over top of them, and that's old. That's old infrastructure, and the reason is because of the geography. We have to live with it. We have to adapt to it, and we have to pay for it. And so it's not easy, and it's aged, and it needs to be upgraded. And we sure need some help from the federal and provincial governments to do that.
Do they hear you? Do the federal and provincial governments hear you? Because okay, so let's talk about the federal government first because they've been in power a little bit longer, and then we'll talk about the provincial government
Sure.
because I know we in Manitoba they just had that changeover election almost a year and a
Yeah.
half ago, so it's going to be a little bit different conversation. But do you believe the federal government hears you when you are talking about these issues? Because I know your local MP is, if I'm not mistaken, NDP, so they're in the third party. So when you're advocating, do you believe that the federal government, that means as of recording this, Prime Minister Trudeau,
Yeah.
which is on his way out, is hearing
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. No, no, I honestly don't think our federal government uh, has a clue about Flin Flon. To be honest with you, sounds tough, but no, I don't think they understand. I don't think we're represented very well. It's That's probably going to be very controversial. But again, you mentioned this isn't the city of Flin Flon talking. This is Mike Slipp talking. Um,
So can I ask you a
and
question, a very
sure,
poignant question, and I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag here. So
sure,
this episode may not air exactly the day I told you that I was going to air. I'm going to be sitting down with the federal minister of housing and communities soon, as
yeah,
in like in the next probably week and a half.
yeah.
What is the question you would ask the housing minister federally that you wish was asked to him?
Ooh, you got me. We have a housing issue in Flin Flon, and we're actually working on some new housing initiatives with for apartment buildings because that's how are going to be able to grow our community is to have more housing. Um, we would ask more for low income housing with wraparound services, also assisted living places and things like that. And why we aren't seeing that here in Flin Flon. We don't have very much in assisted living. We have a homeless population. I'd just like to ask him what we need to do. What are we doing wrong that we're not getting this? What do you want from us? And because we'll give it to you to get these sort of things moving.
Would you ask the flip side question as well? Because money for housing is great, but money
Yeah,
for infrastructure is a lot better. Municipalities work in the infrastructure realm. we talked about the high cost of infrastructure projects or even laying a water pipe or a sewer pipe in your
Mhm.
community, which
Yeah,
I'm still mind boggled that it's being enclosed by a wooden box that people
not
walk
all of
over
it's
to.
just
I know,
open
but
door.
still,
Yeah, yeah,
that's just mind boggling to me.
yeah,
Do federal and provincial governments need to look at your community and look at it as more than just giving money for housing and more we are in a unique position where we can't bury sewers or
yeah,
water lines like another community of Steinbach or Thunder
yeah.
Bay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's we ask every minister that we talk to, or the premier, and the premier has been up here. Is come and let us show you around. Let us show you what we're up against, and the regionality we talked about previously, and also the infrastructure issues we have, and we've had some good success getting ministers up here, but you know we need help. I have a fellow councillor who was on council for quite a number of years. Told the premier before he was a premier. He said, Flin Flon hasn't needed anything from the provincial government because HUD Bay took care of everything. They built our arena. They built golf courses. They built all sorts of things and helped out considerably. But now we do need the provincial government's help. We provided for the province with our critical mineral business. So now's the time. So that's the message we need to get to the province and to the federal government is, we one of the reasons we ran was to get Flin Flon from A, without the industry, that close to B, and we're getting there, but we could use a little help from the government. So we talk about that with them all the time.
You talked about, and you kind of answered the provincial side of that question as well.
Yeah,
So I think I'm just going to jump into the next challenge that you mentioned, and that was crime. Um, Finding police officers in any community right now is very tough, especially in rural communities. And I
yeah,
say rural because you're kind of a far distance away
yeah.
from the largest community in the province of Manitoba. Are you finding it hard to attract and retain workers in those public sector jobs, whether it be nursing, doctors, RCMP officers?
Yeah, we are, and we're looking at different ways to entice these people to Flin Flon, like subsidized housing for them, we're not that far north. People think we're way up there. But we are remote.
In the grand scheme of things, you're not that far north, but
No,
compared to
if you look
Portage
at a
la
map,
Prairie, you're pretty
yeah,
far north.
and Dauphin, who claims they're north, so so yeah, we
You entice people with affordable housing or
and all sorts of things. We're always, with job fairs, things like that. We talk to our sergeant with the RCMP on a regular basis and try to find out what he needs from us to attract members to come here. But as you know, the RCMP is stretched
yeah.
to the max as it is, and as I say, they do such a great job. With, here in Flin Flon, they work their butts off, and I can't tell you how much respect them. Medicine, we seem to be okay doctor wise. Some come up from Winnipeg, every 2 weeks, and we do have permanent doctors. Nursing, we've just opened up a not just, but UCN College of the North has put in a nursing program, so we've got graduates coming who live in Flin Flon coming out of that programs, and so we'll do almost anything to get people up here to work, and you know it's not just there; it's in the public sector too, where we need workers, and so we really work hard at promoting Flin Flon as a great place to live because it is. Cost of living is lower than a lot of places. It's beautiful, and there's work here. So but yeah, to get those doctors, nurses, RCMP is always a concern.
I think the best advertising that Flin Flon has for itself to bring those people is basically your story, right? Because
Yeah,
you were there because your son was playing hockey and you fell in love with the community. So you
that's right.
need to bring people to see it. And we'll talk about this in a few seconds, but as a tourist draw, I'm excited to see it because I've seen the photos and I want to see it in person. So when I come up here there this summer, I'm looking forward to actually seeing it firsthand. I want to flip the script a little bit, and I
Sure.
want we talked about the challenges, and I feel like we didn't touch on a lot, but we touched on enough that I can happily say
Oh, there's a lot of challenges.
exactly. You have more, and maybe we can finish that conversation when I'm up in Flin Flon this year.
Yeah.
On the flip side, what's the thing you look at when you look at the city and you say, we have our challenges, we have our struggles, but we've got this going for us. We got this, we are proud of this accomplishment. We are proud of this part of the community. What is that for you that you are proud of when it comes to the city of Flin Flon?
Well, what I'm proud of is the people. Uh, Flin Flon fights above its weight class all the time. The people in this town are proud to be Flin Floners. They're proud of what this community is. They're proud of the natural beauty we have around us, and the people are really our biggest asset. And they if I could say one thing, it's we're so proud to serve these people because they're really proud of this city, and they should be. There's a lot here. There's a lot of great things. There's the arts. There's of course, the most famous junior A hockey team in Canada, the most famous junior arena in Canada. You know, something people don't realize about Flin Flon is the arts community. It's immense and incredible. Not just performing arts, but fine arts. And we really are working to make Flin Flon a hub for the arts. And you wouldn't believe it if you come up here. You wouldn't believe what Flin Flon has to offer in the arts community. And so there's a lot going on, and as I say, we fight above our weight class, and we do a darn good job of it.
Well, you've painted a vibrant picture, and I'm looking forward to getting there because I'm an arts fan. So I'm holding you
Yeah,
to that. Hopefully, when I'm up there, I want to turn to that tourism draw for a few minutes, if you don't mind, because I'm cautious
sure.
of time, and I know you're a busy man. Um, you every municipality has a unique draw, has a unique tourism aspect that often doesn't get told as much as it should. The provincial government is dedicated to promoting the province as a whole, but each municipality has to do it on their own if they want to promote those hidden gems. What are the hidden gems of Flin Flon that you say if you come here, you have to see?
How much time do you have?
As long as you want to talk.
You know, people should come to Flin Flon. The natural beauty around us, like I mentioned before, the lakes, clear lakes that are jam full of fish. One of my old friends tells me all the time, you have to hide behind a tree to bait your hook because the fish will jump out at you. Um, the natural beauty, it's not only the one of the most beautiful places in Manitoba. It's one of the most beautiful places in Canada. So that's really the number one draw. But we have some beautiful lodges and accommodations. We have a beautiful campground and right in Flin Flon. In fact, some people live 5 minutes away and they go and spend the summer at the campground. It's so beautiful, and we're not revitalizing it. We're adding on to it. We have a food forest. We're putting hiking trails through it. We have a bird watching area in it. So the campground is fantastic. I mentioned the arts. I cannot tell you how the arts in this town. People are just amazed at the talent we have here. Um, we have a little club called Johnny's Social Club, and local musicians play there, and they're fantastic evenings. You can go, and we also have something that comes up in August called the Blueberry Jam Festival, which is a music festival that's in our campground, and we built a stage for it, and it just gets a huge crowd, and it's really a grassroots uh, venue, and it's not just local artists, but generally northern artists that play there, and it's a 3 day um, festival of music and arts and food, and it's really becoming very, very popular. That's a big draw for us. We have another couple of festivals. We have, of course, my beloved Flin Flon Bombers. They're famous. They are famous, and if you go, when I go to the AMM, it's unbelievable how many people will ask me, "How are your Bombers doing? How are the Bombers doing?" And a lot of that stems from one of the greatest hockey players ever, Bobby Clark, who is a Flin Floner, and
I did
of
not know
course
that.
became famous in 1972, and his NHL career. He comes home every summer from I believe he's in Florida in the winter, but so the hockey is a big draw. There's so much here. We're, as I say, we're close to Saskatchewan. We're in Saskatchewan, and down the Saskatchewan way, still beautiful. And Denair Beach, which is again 20 minutes away, is gorgeous. Restaurants, we've it seems like our restaurant scene has blossomed. We have a new one called Aurora and Pine that is a higher end restaurant, which you wouldn't expect in Flin Flon, but it's very good. But our chicken chefs and places like that do a fantastic job. Flin Flon is a place, yeah, and we're working on other things too. We're talking about maybe bringing in an ice hotel for the winter. Uh, uh, Becoming that arts center in the north. All sorts of things are going on in Flin Flon. We're building the swimming pool.
So
There's lots to do.
I'm going to ask.
Sorry,
Oh,
that's, I've mentioned the summer. In the winter, it's just as good, except for the hockey I mentioned. But in the winter, it's just as good. Snowshoeing. We have a great group of people working on the trails, snowshoeing and hiking trails. We have an unbelievable cross-country ski club here that their trail system is as good as anywhere in Western Canada. It has trails that are lit up. And if you want to see the Northern Lights, you can see them anytime here in Flin Flon. You don't have to go all the way to Hudson Bay to see the Northern Lights. They're here, and they're here year round, and they're so vivid and beautiful. So if you're making a trip to see the Northern Lights, come to Flin Flon.
I like how you say come to Flin Flon to see the Northern Lights, but you don't consider yourself Northern Manitoba.
Yeah. Well, you can see Northern Lights anywhere, but they're really prominent here in Flin Flon, that's for sure. We are north, but
so
go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, you've listed off a lot of tourism spots, and I'm going to ask you a sort of a Sophie's Choice question here. What's your favorite spot to go to in Flin Flon? After a long day of council meetings, after a long day of budget deliberations, after a long day of committee meetings, is there a spot you can go in the community to decompress and just let it all go, knowing that tomorrow morning you're going to have to wake back up and do it all over again?
I would say the campground trails, the trails around Flin Flon, the lakes. We have a provincial park within 15 minutes of where we are, and there's beautiful campgrounds out there, Baker's Narrows, and so being out in the outdoors would be where I would be, in the wilderness, and literally you can walk 5 minutes from my house and you're in the middle of the forest. And I live right in town, so that's what I would do. Also, I play golf, although the golf course is on the Saskatchewan side. But that's how I would decompress.
Well, you heard it here first. If you want to find the counselor and ask him some tough questions about the municipality, head out to the golf course or head out to the trail system because you'll probably find him there.
You would just don't ask don't bring up issues in my backswing. That's my only comment. But yeah, yeah, no,
Well,
it's a great place.
I'm looking forward to visiting, and hopefully, when I'm there, we can go out for a 9 hole or 18, depending on the size of
Love
your
to.
golf, and we'll go hit a few balls around because I need to get back in the swing of things because my golf game has taken a nosedive since I stopped playing about 4 years ago. So I may
Yeah,
not be the best. Um,
doesn't matter. We'd be happy to have you.
so before I let you go, I have one final question. We started by talking about yourself. We're ending by talking about the municipality, and I want to ask the municipal question. In your opinion, what makes the city of Flin Flon such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Well, we've covered a lot of that. The uniqueness is the land that we live on and the beautiful scenery that we live in. It's something very very special. Um, the education system we have in Flin Flon is second to none. So for a family, and we're really working hard at making Flin Flon a family orientated with the pool, with playgrounds, with the campground, which not only is a campground but also a recreational site. Those are the things that make Flin Flon unique, and the people. It was been known as a rough and tumble town because of the mining aspect, and those people are wonderful people, and they're the friendliest people you'll ever meet. I know other communities say that, but I truly believe it in Flin Flon. They accepted me after 5 years. They accepted me and my family. Family to live here is inexpensive. Houses that would cost $1 million in Calgary probably 250,000 here. So it's an incredible place that way. What was the other part of your question? I'm sorry, Chris.
What is the best? What's the so unique to about? Sorry, what makes the city of Flin Flon such a unique place to live, to work, and to raise a family?
Well, to work, as I say, I started sort of a new career. I do the marketing at the Ford dealership, but again, I got to say it's the people. They're I'm so lucky because they come and see me, whether it's a municipal conversation or something about the dealership. So uh, working in Flin Flon is great, and then afterwards, when you go home to decompress, like we talked about, is even better. We need employees here. So whether it's healthcare workers, whether it's somebody working in a restaurant. We just hired a couple of new mechanics, one from the Philippines, one from the Dominican Republic. So we're very very accepting and very we're very welcoming to all. So working here, I'm sure we could find you some work.
Counselor, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your busy day and sitting down and doing this interview. I never know what to expect, but it seems like you have a passion for your community, a love for your community, and a true understanding of what your community is going through. So, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for telling your story and being part of the show.
Thank you, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of Cross Border Interviews. Now, we hope you've enjoyed today's conversation and gained some valuable insights from a municipal leader from across Canada. To stay in the loop with all of our latest episodes, don't forget to subscribe to the show on your favorite platform and follow us on social media. For even more content and learn more about today's story or the people that we have featured on this show, visit us online at crossborderinterviews.ca. Your support means the world to us, so share this episode with your friends and help us keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and we'll see you next time here on Cross Border Interviews. Till then, everyone.